Hey y'all, Andrew Reed, Lost Creek Mushrooms, joined by my ever lovely wife.
Hey.
And her name is?
Samantha.
And she is with?
My ever lovely husband.
Mossy Creek Mushrooms. And this is?
Josiah from Extraterrestrial Fungi.
And now that we've all introduced ourselves, sorry, I just sprung that on them, so we did not plan that, obviously. But today, we're going to talk about the glory of the grind, or rather, the myth of the glory of the grind. That was actually Josiah's idea, so I'm going to let you kind of lead a segue into that.
Yeah, I mean, the idea kind of came to me listening to some other mushroom podcasts, and I started to, as I've thought about it more, I've realized I think this is just, it's probably a deeper part of our culture, but this kind of worship of this nonstop work ethic. I mean, it's to an unhealthy level where you're sacrificing other things in your life it popped out to me, and I kind of became strange just how, how much it is kind of worshipped.
Absolutely. Samantha wanted to center you.
I wanted to frame you in a little bit better.
There we go.
It does make you look more like an authority figure, I feel like. So
looking up at me like that?
Yep. Absolutely. Well, I mean, having you centered, so.
Gotcha.
But
thank you, Samantha.
I agree with you. It is something that is pushed pretty deep in our culture, and it's pretty, it's pretty, in a way, it's a healthy juxtaposition, I feel like, in some ways from the laziness I feel like we see in some of our generation. But at the same time, it's done in a really unhealthy way a lot of the times.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a self-care thing.
I was actually having almost that same thought on the way over here, that it's weird we have almost these two polar extremes, which seems to be the way things work too often in life, that it's, like you said, there is a kind of a lack of wanting to work on one side and then the holy worship of it on the other side, and somewhere in between, I imagine is the key.
And I'd like to add, like, when we're talking about this idea of the grind, we are not talking about discipline. We're not talking about even hard work. What we're talking about is the kind of work where you work and you work and you work and you work and you just completely deplete yourself of everything, of having a life, you might be able to accumulate wealth. That might be the other side of that, but if you're sitting there working and working and working and working and not filling your cup back, then you're eventually going to burn out. You're eventually going to have nothing left to give.
Absolutely. So, when you reach a point where it's taken from other things.
Right.
And when you're having to sacrifice so much else. I struggle with this because we're approaching this kind of from like, I'm saying this, but I'm trying to learn how to practice what I preach, because I'm not doing a good job of this right now. So this is almost like, I feel like I'll go back and take notes on this or something. Looking at, I'm coming at it to two people that have recognized this and then built systems and, put things in place to make it happen. So
yeah, absolutely. That's something Samantha and I struggled with a lot early on, was because we came from the factory, and there the grind is normal. It's completely normalized. You see people who've been at like the factory we were at, people who had been there 10 years, where their bodies had been shaped by the factory. You know what I mean? Skinny little nothing legs, big upper bodies, because they didn't do anything but sit and move parts, or they didn't move well. They couldn't bend at the waist. And it's like, that's actually, as fat as I am, I can still get down in a squat because I have time to practice that, and I do. So, but it's like, that's the self-care aspect. And that's what I mean by discipline as well, because, just like Samantha knows, just like we all have to be disciplined in the mushroom game, because we have a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly requirement that we've got to do. But I don't feel like, you can be disciplined and you can make self-care a part of your discipline at the same time. So
yeah,
I
sometimes to me that discipline would mean forcing yourself, at least what I'm working on right now is forcing myself to sit down and think about the future me. So the discipline to sit down and take the time to develop a way to do things better, so that maybe I have to work a little bit more. I put in an extra, I'm up later or whatever developing this now, but it's putting a place in that will save me time in the future. So rather than spending that same time harvesting mushrooms all night or doing lab work or doing something that's just grinding, pushing production forward, but not thinking more about making things easier.
Well, so I actually have something that I tell Samantha quite a bit, and she's smiling, so she may know where I'm going, or she may have something else. But I always tell her, like, you got to stop throwing your body in the breach, right? Like, you got to start thinking about, like, and ever since I was a kid, I was obsessed with the military. I wanted to go in the military. I did go in the military. My body was too messed up for it, so I got kicked out. I still think in those terms, and part of that may be from reading Ender's Game when I was a little kid.
Okay.
But to me, the whole idea is you have your front line. The general does not necessarily throw his body in the breach. I mean, it happens occasionally, but the general sits back and he's looking at the system, and he's got to be back there. He's got to be not in the fight so he can see where it's going wrong, so he can move reserves around. Now, if he's about to lose everything, yeah, you throw your body in the breach so you don't lose the day. But then you don't make that your normal routine. Your normal routine as the business owner is to do whatever daily responsibilities you have, but then get yourself out of the daily responsibilities as quickly as possible so that you can focus on the system. And even then, like, I was talking about this with Jack before we came on, because Jack was like, well, you get employees. That's how you get out of the grind. I was like, well, no, because at the same time, I don't feel like any of my employees, like, I would love to work for me. And I don't mean to brag on myself, because I can be a ooksht is Cherokee for butthole, so we'll just use that because I doubt that.
You give a lot of freedom.
I give a lot of freedom. Yeah. I'm now. Don't get me wrong. If things are not going well, I will tell Jack, and I'll make Jack uncomfortable, or Tristan, or Matt, or whoever. But just to make sure that we get our standards met. But that is my role, is the standards keeper. Samantha's role in part is the standards keeper. We got to make sure that as their standards slip, that they are brought back. But at the same time, they work hard. I don't want them grinding. If my employees are grinding for me, I feel like I'm doing something wrong.
Absolutely.
So
yeah. And you, even if they are just grinding, I mean, that will only get you so far if you don't have a good system to throw the employees into.
Right.
I mean, if you don't have it set up, then the work will come back to you in a different way, through questions, through errors further down the road.
Oh, yeah.
However it is. So
tired employees make mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bored employees make mistakes.
Absolutely, yeah. This is true.
Samantha, did you have something?
Just kind of from personal experience, having gone from an employee now to an employer, and someone who struggles with the grind in the sense that I enjoy it. I really I love working hard. There's just something about getting in there and struggling and, battling uphill and proving that you can do it. And I don't know, like I always really liked competing against the machine, or like I don't know. It's just kind of it's a weird thing. But that said, I never, you never want to do it so long term that you are burnout. And if you've gotten to that point, then it's definitely something to be concerned about. I was actually what?
I just saw where Scott Stevens said, "Aha! Since it was 4:20, I thought you meant another grind." He means coffee.
Coffee.
Anyway, Samantha, continue. I had a chance to look at the chat since we stopped talking.
Right. And Jesse also wants to know where he could get an awesome hat like that, Josiah.
I know. The hats are in the works. The hats are in the works.
That is like, how many times have you been asked that? Like,
every time I wear it, almost every day I go out. So it's Yeah.
We've been in that same position where we're trying to find suppliers that are the quality that we enjoy and like, and it's just kind of difficult to get everything together.
Yeah, we'll get it lined up soon. Absolutely. I want everyone to have a hat, trust me. I hear where you're coming from with that, because I do relate to that. I think lots of mushroom farmers probably are going to relate to enjoying that grind a little bit, and also a lot of the stuff, you even put it in the title of this, you get in the flow a lot of times, so it doesn't feel a lot like work, and that's some of the best times are where you're just super productive, busting a bunch of stuff out, and that's the trick with all this stuff, I think, is that balance and not to glorify it too much to the point where...
Well, see, Samantha likes to get into like a flow state, and she'll work 12 hours. And I think
that's a flow state.
It is. And I think that she feels like it's 30 minutes when she does it. Like
it does. It's almost
Right.
like going into this meditative sort of berserker state, and I don't know what it is. I just really enjoy it. And I had an awesome team at Riches. Like there were quite a few of us all in a line, and we each had a specific purpose, and then we would fill in to grab more materials or to slap a sticker label and wrap a pallet, and it was just this flow between multiple people as well in this team atmosphere, and I enjoyed it. It felt like family. I enjoyed the people that I work with. I have that,
And that
here
is-
now,
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
but it's from a different standpoint, and I've actually struggled with a sense of displacement building up a team, and I don't know if you're struggling with this at all, where you have people replacing where you were, and they're doing a good job, but they're not doing it quite the way you would, but which is okay. They're going to do it their own way. And I know our entire team is listening to us now. Like they do a great job, and I want to reiterate that. But it is difficult.
She's just
for
afraid
me.
that if we talk bad, to tell the truth, we'll go out there to a hissy fit. There'll be blocks thrown on the floor. No,
That's not true.
That's a challenge for everyone, though. Moving on and giving up tasks that you did in a very particular way that have brought you success, and recognizing that people do things in different ways, and as
Yeah.
long as we get to the same result, then it's
And you want to give them the freedom to do it differently. You want to give them, you want that beautiful aspect of having someone else come in and see it from a different perspective and show you another way. Like, I equally love that. For me, it's more that I see someone struggling. I want to go, and this is what Andrew's saying, I want to go in and help them. I want to be that secondary team member that just is working alongside of them.
And I'm happy to just sit there and let the system fail.
Well,
Okay.
it gives us a kind of a false positive. Am I saying that right?
Yeah,
Whenever
you're right.
I go in and I help, and it gets, it gets done faster than it normally would, I'm not allowing myself a true...
Test of the system.
Yeah, and that's really hard for me. I struggle with that big time.
Yeah, when it's right there in front of you, that is difficult.
Micah Myers is going to kill me. He's on with the F, Samantha.
I get it though, because it's like I too have that that little thrill at first where it's like, oh, I gotta go. Oh, I see that it's gonna fail, right? But to me, it's like, okay, if I don't let the system fail, I'm never really going to see where my weaknesses are, and it is better to watch a system and even to see if that system self-corrects. Like talking about employees, like the workflow that they're doing. If I'm sitting there and I watch, and I'm like, okay, they're getting this done. And I know that, it took Samantha and I a couple of hours to do lab. If we come in and lab is routinely getting done in 3 or 4 hours, I need to go check with Jack and Tristan. Hey, fellas, why is it taking an hour to 2 hours longer than it took Samantha and I to do the same amount of blocks? And if they're like, well, honestly, we're running out of shelves. We had to go do a bunch of searches. We had to pull down stuff that was going to go into the grow room today so we could free up shelves. And then I'm like, okay, I know I need to buy more shelves.
Yeah.
But, I'm trying to, there's not really a good way to throw your body in the breach there. But, I mean, there are other ways, like in bag packing for the steamer or whatever, where you could be trying to jump in and fix their problem immediately.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whereas just going and getting feedback and then responding makes it's actually weird because you'll find yourself being more productive, the system being more productive, you're putting more money in your pocket, and you're doing less work. That's the goal to me. Like I'm not one of these like mushroom farming's got to be blood, sweat, and tears kind of guy. So
yeah. Do you have any examples that come to mind of systems you changed or created or streamlined or something that really helped?
Our bag packing, the whole process of using pellets. I'm trying to remember who it was, but there was a fella on mushroom growing. Leighton Banks was his name. I don't know if that's his real name. I don't know. He's just kind of disappeared off the face of the earth. I saw he was putting pellets into a bag, and then okay, back up a little bit further. I was buying pellets and putting them in a tub and then adding water till I could squeeze test it, which means multiple times of putting water in. Had a pitchfork, and then I would turn it. And then if I inevitably got it uneven, then whenever it was getting too wet, I had to add more sawdust and just do all this to make it perfect and then bag it up. And then it came down to eventually, oh my goodness. We got a true celebrity.
Oh, yeah.
It's a baby Ben.
Which camera? This one here?
Yep.
Oh, look. Hey, everybody.
Can I say the name?
Yeah, go for it.
It's Marco Erickson, little baby Ben.
Where's my little monster?
Do what?
So there's my little monster.
My little monster.
Oh.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know it, Ben is now a father.
Yep.
So, and why did you name him Marco?
Because Marco is the Polish word for of Mars.
So Marco is the Polish word for of Mars.
Yeah, it roughly translates to of Mars. So basically, we named him that because he's a Martian.
So you guys
We're gonna grow up on Mars.
You guys think that we're joking about growing mushrooms on Mars. We're not. We're gonna own those sewage domes.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Built into the family name.
That's right. Oh man.
Anyway, I heard you guys talking about some latent banks and some.
Oh yeah, that's right. So
some exciting stuff there.
So yeah, this was actually Ben's actually a big part of this. So I'm glad he's here. So Leighton Banks, I saw on Facebook. You saw it too, or did I show you?
You showed me.
Okay, so I showed Ben, and what we did was we noticed he was putting pellets in a bag and then water, and then shaking it in the bag, which is an improvement over the way I was doing it.
Yeah.
But Ben looked at me, and Ben was like, "Why are you shaking it?" I was like, "Oh, because you want to make sure that everything's mixed up, that the mushrooms get it." And Ben's like, "No.
What, don't we shake it in the lab?"
Yeah, and he was like, "Andrew, don't we shake it in the lab? Like you put spawn in there, and then you mix it up to make sure the spawn's mixed up. Isn't that shaking it?" And so I was like, "Oh my gosh, yeah." So I was like, "I don't know if it'll work." So Ben's like, "Just try it." We tried it. It worked, and that saved us a ton of labor. And
some people say that they get better results, that they get larger flushes off a well-mixed substrate.
Yeah.
And that might be the case, but again, we focus on labor because labor is more expensive than substrate.
Right. So what Ben just said, in case the volume was not good, was that, basically it came down to labor.
Yeah, it takes you less time to pound out another 50 blocks than it would to shake the previous 150 super well each.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, because Ben was
that's what.
Boy, your voice is way louder than Samantha's.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good.
But that's what led to the very first Thor.
Right.
Which was okay. So now we're just hand scooping, and that sucked less than the whole mix it in a tub that we were doing.
There's a guy named
which was awful.
Fasal. Okay, I'm sorry, man. I'm sure I'm butchering your name, and I apologize.
Yes.
But he said Kuwait.
He
said he's got it. Kuwait is basically already Mars. So.
Yep. But yeah, so once we got to the point where we were scooping it by hand, and then we'd have like a production line. Andrew would scoop one material, Sam would scoop a material, and then I had a pitcher of water and a line drawn on it, and I just plumbed water to our production area so that I could just turn it on and off right there.
Okay.
And just dumping it in the bag. And like that was such a breakthrough, that
Right.
freaking production line, because it was like we were knocking out suddenly 120 blocks, and it took us very little time.
It took us no time whatsoever.
And then after that, I was just like, okay, we can make a machine to do this.
Yep.
And so came up with. I was just floating around in poverty and desperation, and thinking about what I had.
Poverty, the greatest resource.
Right. And creativity. And so we had just pulled apart the wall that my dad had put in the basement for my sister's room, to open that space back up. And so took some of the 2x4s from that wall, and then some scrap wood that we had gotten, and put it together. And then that prototype lasted us for like 2 years.
Mike, oh, you like that, Maiko?
It's
Look at
very
that.
nice.
Even Maiko's a fan of the stickers. Oh, yeah, that's right. Josiah brought us a whole bag of stickers.
Oh, merch.
And pins. Are you going to have those available?
Yeah, absolutely. We can do those. We got tons of the stickers and the pins. It's not a hat, but it's a start.
Need to work on the hat.
Yeah, well, absolutely, Maiko.
Where did you get yours? You just make it have it a one-off?
It's a one-off, yeah. It was a Christmas present.
The hat
Okay.
that you get.
Yeah, everybody wants that hat.
Dude, it's glorious. I mean, oh, sorry, go ahead, Maiko, show that again. Yeah, little pins. Oh, no.
I might have to step out, but
Yeah, that's okay. Oh, no, he took it. Look at him.
what a champ.
Oh. Thanks, Maiko. Take it easy. Doing good work.
Good work.
Not murdering me.
That's always helpful.
It is. So where were we? Oh, the Thor bagger. So that was something that helped us out a lot, was the Thor bagger. Even though, because it allowed you to have one person to dump both solids.
Right.
That was really because it didn't have
somebody
the
ran
water.
a mouse trap and then
Yep.
folded and went. But yeah, just figuring out how to take some of the worst parts of the labor out of the system made a huge difference.
Heck yeah.
Absolutely.
Which
That's
is something since you're here, I was wanting to talk to you about that. I watched the episode that you were first on. You were talking about your startup, and I don't know if
Yeah.
I'm going to take this over. Sorry.
No, you're fine. What we're talking about basically is it's called the glory of the grind, but
Mhm.
basically just
Yeah,
the
I was
myth.
watching something
Okay.
out there.
So yeah, I mean, but as far as we standing to go, I don't mind if we drift a little. So
Okay. So I know you were getting blocks from us for some time. Were you making any blocks at all during that time period before you grabbed Prometheus, or were you just picking up growing pre-mixed blocks?
I had made a few, basically in the method you're describing.
Yep.
Pellets,
Just-
pitcher. I have the same pitcher with a line
Yep.
drawn on it still. So, and we still bust that stuff out occasionally to do like little grow kits and things like that
Yeah,
if we're
just
doing a
off
smaller
sizes.
size. But I did not have, because you guys offered me Prometheus so soon, I did not have to go through the experience of doing like 100 bags with a pitcher. So
that was rough, man. I felt like I needed rotator cuff surgery after a couple.
I also didn't have that many people, so I would run Prometheus by myself, and
Right.
it would let me do a lot. That seriously helped. I would have been down there 4 hours.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But
Especially if you
then-
don't have help. I think I bribed Charles one time with like pizza and beer or something like that. So
But yeah, so as far as you go, your development as a grower, what would you say was like? Give me some of the milestones, because for one, I'm interested to know how much you spent.
Yeah.
If you
more
have
than
like
I needed.
a total, everybody spends more than you need.
Yeah.
Like in retrospect. Like,
Yeah.
And that's an important part is you don't really know what you need until you're there.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, what were your startup costs?
So I did it kind of sporadically. I sold my motorcycle, and that got me just about $3,000. And so with that, I was able to get a flow hood. I built a grow room. Let's see, a lot of the cultures. Man, I started slow and a lot. Also, it's amazing how much of that small stuff that I can't name now adds up.
yep.
But that was my initial costs to get me the ability to start tinkering in the lab and then to get the grow room. And I started trying to make money with it to spend on more stuff. But at this point, it's between 15 and 20, I would say.
Okay. So is that additional investment that you have made, or is that money that has been bankrolled back in that the company has paid you that you then paid back?
It's so most of it has gone back in, aside from that initial, and then, you know, we've been able to make do with putting probably like 5 on credit cards with that. We haven't had to do major stuff, and we were able to knock that pretty, you know, we've done like little bits of debt and then used what we built to kind of knock that back off. So it's been an incremental growth where that.
So like put some on a credit card, pay it off, put some more on a credit card, pay it off. That's basically, I mean, we've done some of the similar stuff.
Yeah.
If we, luckily I've not had to do a lot of that, but in part that was because I had investors like Ben and Charles. So, I mean.
Yeah. It was never more than, you know, like a couple thousand at a time, which a lot of this was new to me. You know, that was a lot of money to me.
Oh yeah.
That was so.
Yeah,
I mean,
a couple grand when we were starting up was like, that's break you type of territory.
I mean,
Exactly.
we were like going into the trunk for $5 for gas. So, uh-oh.
Hey buddy. Yeah, I'll step out if I have to here in a minute.
Okay.
definitely a little scary there, but you know, worth it.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Because Andrew, your initial investment was $4,000.
Yeah, roughly.
Correct.
Yep.
And pretty much the same thing. You got the flow hood.
Yeah, flow hood was first off, and
Critical
then
infrastructure there.
I mean pressure cooker. Just a couple of Prestos.
Yep.
Was enough.
But what's interesting is our process changed dramatically from the time that you first got that flow hood to what we're doing now.
Well, yeah, that was a difference of years between.
Yep.
one and the other.
And the industry hadn't really matured.
Right. No. All right.
Okay.
I
I'm
think-
gonna take my leave, but yeah. Also, I'll just ask my next question and let you guys discuss
Sure.
it. I'm gonna step out. But that is, can you go over like the critical milestones?
Milestones,
Like,
yeah.
At what point did you feel like, okay, this is something that's legit, and at what point do you feel like you finally became a success, or have you reached that point yet?
Okay, we can go over that.
I'm gonna step out and give him his bottle. But,
Okay.
But yeah, those are the things that I was wanting to touch on from last week.
Absolutely. One of the biggest milestones was the mentorship, for sure. That was one of the things where I mentioned this the last time, that took it from kind of looking at it as this hobby scale to like, yeah, I can do this.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, the first step is obviously like the first grow kit I got, I grew successfully. I had a lot of initial success where you're like, oh, yeah, this is awesome.
Oh, and that initial success does not prepare you for the initial fall that
No,
you get.
no, not at all. It was almost detrimental that I had so much success right off the bat that when things start going wrong, it's like, oh gosh,
What's wrong with me? What am I doing wrong?
They don't like me anymore.
That's right. I was good at this.
Yes. So those are the first two. The first farmers market, May 1st, that I mentioned of last year was, I mean, that was a big milestone for me because the turnout, and I need to get a better job at bringing pictures and stuff to share. There's a picture on our Instagram. I think it's the very first picture, and it's our very first farmers market.
Oh,
and
nice.
There's the banner, a table, a scale, and a small basket of mushrooms.
Hey, that's basically our first farmers market picture.
Yeah.
I think, except we had a couple of logs with us, like a
There you
couple of
go.
like shiitake logs.
I don't know if I drug out a grow block the first market, or it might have taken me till the next one, but it evolved and it got better and better. I would say the next milestone was, it was several months later. It was, I believe, towards the end of the summer, and it would be the first restaurant.
Okay.
And so,
Do you remember who your first restaurant was?
yeah, the Brasserie.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome.
And they had, I ran into both restaurants you gave me had turnovers in those chefs. So I ran into new chefs at both locations, but it worked out. They were
Okay.
looking for mushrooms.
Nice.
And that was, man, farmers markets are such an awesome place to start because
Oh my gosh, yeah.
they're the safety net is really what it is, that you can show up with what you've got. And that was nice for me to not basically go,
You show up with 20 pounds and sell out early, then you walk the market.
exactly.
You show up with 200 pounds and don't sell it all, you probably paid for it all in just what you sold that day. So farmers
yeah.
markets are wonderful.
Absolutely. It just that freedom from a real hard deadline and quantity is excellent for a beginner.
Oh,
so moving into the restaurants is when that was definitely a milestone because the reliability really has to start to come in. You have to start, well, you don't have to, but in my case, restaurants, it's different. You're now from a customer to a client.
Yeah.
And that's a different type of relationship. There's just a lot of learning there. And
Real quick, Paul, it is the brasserie. The brasserie is North Shore Brasserie in Knoxville.
in Knoxville, yeah.
But
Yeah. So that was a big milestone there. At that point, I don't think that I would have said, I would have considered that the success landmark, or I honestly don't know if you can say that I don't feel like I'm there yet.
I'd usually just say that, just as a general principle, you're not there. You're not there until you've made it a year.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you're really close to that.
Yeah, and part of it is just being picky, that I have certain goals that I think I'd like to get to before I'd consider it super successful. There's
Well, and there's different measures of success
Yeah.
as well. So I think I would call you a successful mom and pop
there you go.
shop,
Okay.
right? Like a small business with employees run out of the home. So like a mom and pop farm would do, like most farms do, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, like I think I would consider you successful at that. I considered myself successful when I was in the basement, but it was like a successful mom and pop. And then I was like, okay, well, that's not where I want to go. I would like to go to, hey, she's back. I would like to have my business where I can completely walk away from it, where it's not just a small business that depends on me. So the first step of that was getting it out of my house, because you could be a lot less picky with your employees if you don't have employees in your home. I'm sure you know all about this. Like within yours, like you have a little girl,
Yep.
and you don't necessarily want just any random dude in your home.
Absolutely.
your
We don't
wife
have
and kid.
we don't have a bathroom downstairs. So you've got to go upstairs to
And
use.
share that's the same way it was with us. And
Yeah.
so I picked a guy that I knew who was one of my buddies from Trading Fish, and he'd been in my house many times. I felt very comfortable with him there. And then a lady that we met from a mutual friend, I think. Is that how we met Laura? How did we meet Laura?
You put the ad up on Facebook, and her
That's
friend reached out on her
That's right.
behalf, and then she applied.
Okay.
And it was really easy because she needed just 3-4 hours a week. So
No, you mean 3 to 4 days a week.
in the beginning, it was just a few hours
Okay.
a week. And the same thing with Jason. It was just a few hours a week. So
Which was perfect for us.
it
yeah.
allowed us to kind of get to know them a little bit better, and then to build more time with them, so that was really nice.
That's interesting to hear you say that, because one of my questions on here about the grind being the enemy is basically, is it even possible to avoid this when it's in your basement?
To some extent, no, I think.
Yeah.
Because you're always going to be limited with like we've talked about, like who you can allow in your home. Now granted, I'm not saying that like I've hired anybody that I'm uncomfortable with around my children, because even out of the home, That's important to me. But I can afford to hire strangers. I had never hired strangers other than, Laura was a special case. Laura was like 50 years old. She was a little bitty thing. I wasn't worried about, like if I hired a dude, I would be worried about him coming into the kitchen with Samantha alone and that kind of stuff, if I'm out on deliveries.
Yeah.
But here I can hire strangers, get to know them. We still do background checks and all that kind of stuff, but I still wouldn't hire anybody that I'm uncomfortable having around my kids. So.
Well, it's not your private space. There's also that work-life balance that
Right.
you can afford yourself, and not to speak out really against the grind in a big way.
No, speak out against the grind.
Especially on my, in my perspective. But I do, I feel like I agree with Josiah. You kind of need some of that gumption. You need that grind. You need that go-get-'em attitude in the beginning. But whenever you're getting close to burnout, you've gone too far. You need to change something. You need to rethink it and rework it. What?
Look at the last comment in the chat. Thanks, Urban Veg. Heartbroken.
Sure.
Right?
I also heard a little bit about investments. I didn't realize that you sold your motorcycle to
It was
that
the
first
initial
little-
one.
I didn't know that either.
I mean, that was heartbreaking in a big way because I know how much you love to ride.
It's given me a new goal. That's one of them right there. Is
Yeah.
we'll put another little tally in the success box when I can get another
Get it back.
motorcycle to rip around on.
Get it
But
back, yeah.
it was that kind. Erin got pregnant, and I decided to just become a walking cliche. And so yeah, it's okay because I know it won't be the last, and the next one is going to be.
The next motorcycle?
Yeah, the next
Oh,
motor.
yeah.
It'll be not necessarily because of whatever bike I get, but just the way in which I've earned it will make it the best bike I've ever.
No, I get it. So,
Absolutely.
like, the funny thing is I just bought a bike that,
To replace the one you sold.
well, to replace the one I sold when I started my op. And I didn't even go with a motorcycle. I just went with an e-bike this time because
Okay, yeah.
I wanted. Well, number one, I'm gonna lose this freaking gut that I gained during the pandemic. But beyond that, like, I don't know. I miss biking. I used to be a big cyclist. I do miss my Suzuki GSL 1000 shaft driven. Last year they put the shaft in it instead of the chain.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, I missed that thing. But at the same time, yeah, it's worth it. Like to be where we're at now and like actually. Yeah, the way you earn it is, I'm not taking my tax return and spending it. I'm using money that the op earns. So,
And we were also, going back to investments as well, we were also very fortunate to have a highly successful Kickstarter.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, we had an awesome Kickstarter. I wish now, looking back, that we had canceled it and then asked for more because it brought us to that next
Yeah.
step, but not quite where we needed to be. And then something to look out for in case you do one is they delete the addresses. You can still see the name, but they delete the ability to reach the individuals after a set amount of months. And whenever you're growing a crop, it kind of shoots you in the foot because you have to wait until that crop comes in.
Yeah.
So
Need to build a
that
mailing
was-
list.
Yeah, or go ahead and write everyone's things down, which we didn't. We just counted on it being there forever. And you can go and request, but you have to have special permissions and it's just kind of. It's one of those things. So we've relied on people to reach back out to us. and
Yeah.
the
so
funny
we could
thing is
fulfill their
that
stuff.
ultimately the Kickstarter cost us more
It did.
than
It
what we
did.
made. Like it cost us more in. I don't know. It was just rough. And part of that is just I did not know enough about the mushroom industry to know how much it took to ship blocks and do all these things, like to give
Okay.
the rewards out stuff. So, it's like, oh, cool, we made this nice Kickstarter, and then bam, okay, well, we actually spent more fulfilling it than we did.
So
Getting it.
So grow kits was like one of the things
Yeah,
that you
yeah.
got. Oh, that pow
Oh,
right in
yeah.
the feet, dude.
Well,
that.
and we like agar plates, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we're gonna do agar plates and all this stuff. And I had a huge strain library full of strains I never used, and it was a massive undertaking to get all that stuff, like without the proper know-how or gear at the time. So, yeah.
Man.
Better just to earn cash flow.
Yep. I like the sound of that. We've recently started doing delving more into the blocks and shipping kits. We've had so many people asking and stuff about them, and it's
not a bad gig. It's just
no. It just is as long as the person buying the block is aware and taking that cost on. But if you're giving that as a Kickstarter thing, it's shipping those is not cheap.
No, flat rate actually worked out pretty well, but
yeah.
You always have, like, when Andrew and I first ordered our kits, there was an understanding on our part. Not saying that our Kickstarter peeps did this, but there is kind of an understanding that if you grow something for the very first time and it doesn't work out perfectly, hey, maybe I did that. But then there's there's some people out there who come back for another kit and another kit and another kit, and then before you know it, you've provided like $120 worth of refunds. You're like, okay, this is gonna stop. We can't keep doing this. But
those are the stories that scare me away from doing kits right there. But then I seriously have been so against kits since and it's everyone else around is like, come on, people are asking at the market, everyone wants it, so I'm finally just like, fine.
It is a rewarding and fun, and just to hear people's stories and excitement.
People love it.
It is.
They love it.
It is. And I remember just how excited we were, and that nostalgia and kind of romanticism, right?
Of
us doing that first kit and how fun it was.
Yeah.
I will say that I think
it's worthwhile, definitely.
if someone can get the logistics part down, then I think the kit game could be very lucrative.
Yeah.
But the problem is that anybody who gets big, like, starts to gain ground, and I've seen this over and over and over again. Anyone who starts to gain ground gets too big too quick, and they can't fulfill their orders. And with kits, the one thing you cannot do, you can ship a partially contaminated block. They're not going to care. You can ship with maybe slightly faulty instructions. Like, the kit is probably going to be hardy enough that it's going to produce for them. The biggest thing, really, though, is your customer experience level. You've got to be quick. You've got to have the thing out. Every moment of their experience with you must be good, or they're not coming back and they're not recommending you. And so you have to be prepared if you're going to start pushing kits to, like, really be able to ratchet up production and your logistics game at the same time. And that's a hard hump.
Sounds like customer service, which might also be the hardest thing for some people.
Yeah. Well, and I've always thought, like, I think that if somebody went back and they had YouTube videos, a nice instruction sheet, and a really simplistic kit. I mean, ship them a block with a black line on it that says cut it, black line, miss twice daily. And let the mushrooms just grow. And who cares if they're not going to get a fourth or a fifth flush because you don't have a humidity tent. Who cares? They're going to be so happy with the first flush because it's all about the experience.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think you could simplify it down and then have back-end automation customer support that would add to it, like I said, the YouTube videos. But you're still going to get those calls. It's just,
you can put all the support out there that you want. I mean, and some of the most successful customers with these kits, I love them, but they are asking questions that are on the instructions that are on the website that you put as much out there, and
that's a whole different grind.
Yep.
Is putting in the work, putting in the effort, putting your heart and soul into making it understandable and easy to do. And we've had blocks left in the backmost bottom corner in the floor in the dark that have fruited, and not saying it's not a struggle in itself, but it's just kind of one of those things you get a little bit burnt out on answering all those questions over and over again.
Well, I love this conversation, but we've got about 15 minutes.
Wow.
And why? Because we're having fun and time flies. I'm serious. Like, I feel like, especially with Josiah here, I feel like I could go 3 hours.
But we started just a minute ago.
That's what it felt like. You started a minute ago when you walked back in. Now.
Oh.
So, do we have any questions, Samantha, that you can go over, or Josiah, if anybody saw anything interesting in the chat?
Have you answered any questions? Would be a good
No, I don't. Well, we answered one that was just about where the brasserie restaurant was.
Yeah.
So I did see. So John Grady says, I'm 28, starting a mushroom business. Can you give any input on balancing starting a business while raising a family? I'm thinking, oh my gosh, well, you're asking two people who started it and have families. So I'm thinking I should wait 2 or 3 years to have kids and focus on business. Okay, I have an idea, but anyone who wants to go first?
I don't think it's that easy of a cookie cutter answer.
It really, I don't think so. Yeah, I mean, I can share. I didn't think about it that much. Like, a lot of what held me back from my success was overthinking things, and stuff just kind of happened. And my parents used to always tell me everything happened for a reason, and I hated it as a kid. And the older I get, the more it makes sense to me. Mm-hmm. And, you know, there's definitely pros. There's times where I look at some other farms that don't have kids, and it's like, oh my gosh, like, look at all the cool things, or they're moving so fast, and you can get stuck comparing it. But, you know, then I go upstairs and I see my daughter, and it's like, oh, you know, there is no comparison. So, you know, you don't want to be from my perspective, you don't want to be in the mind frame where it's like one or the other, where you're going to be looking like, am I sacrificing my business for the kid? Like, you can do both. I mean, do you want children? Like, it's, I don't know. I think that you're capable, and it's definitely a challenge, but good luck having anyone tell you if you're, you know, for your specific situation.
Oh, yeah. Well, can I ask you something? You feel free to not answer me. How old are you?
I am 33.
Okay. And you had your first kid when you were
32.
32. So I would consider that starting late.
It is.
And have kids.
It really is.
And he says 28. I would consider 28 a little late. Not that like there's anything wrong with that. Now to give you an idea, Samantha and I had our first kid at 20, so we started probably a little early. But I'm glad I did, because my father had kids whenever he was young. My grandfather had kids when he was young, and both of them said the same thing, that they wanted to make sure that they were able to play ball with their kids, that they were able to go biking with their kids, that they were able to do these things. And I'm hoping to do the same thing, right? Like, I got a 15-year-old. I'm only 36. How old am I?
You're 35.
I'm 35. I'm 35. Right, because if I had a kid at 20. Okay, whatever. Anyways. But 35, like, yeah, I'm fat, but I'm still able to. We go kayaking. You know, I've got a bike on order. Like I said, we're about to go biking as a family. Like, that's our vacation for the year. Instead of spending money on big vacation stuff, we decided
purchase more infrastructure.
we purchased more infrastructure. We bought a 150-liter autoclave for the business, and then bikes for the family. And I like being young enough that I can do that kind of stuff. You're in good shape. You're probably going to be fine. So, you know.
I plan on it, but also here's another thought. One of your kids is literally working here. Like, start earlier. By the time your farm's blowing up, you've got human resources.
Yeah, there you go.
So, I mean,
that's true.
And
I still pay him, but I mean, it's somebody I can trust and not. So yeah. I also feel like, I don't know, Samantha and I, we have a big saying now. It took us a little while, and it's so simple and cheesy that it seems stupid, but it's just family first for us, you know. Like, I feel like our generation has really been fed a lie, and that is that you'll be happy with just a career and not a family. And I think that is the losing strategy. We have been sold a losing strategy, and I hate it. Because I see a lot of people now that are my age that are starting to have a hard time having children, and they waited until their career was perfect. Poverty was my best friend. Other than one time when I heard my kids cry when they were going hungry, and that's because I was being stupid and spending money where I shouldn't have been. So that's my fault. But other than that, having children and being poor, some of the best experiences of my life in a way.
Yeah.
Like, it really wasn't that bad. It was bad. There was some suffering, but thankfully we live in a nation with a good enough social safety net that, you know what, if your farm starts hurting a little bit, you go get Well,
Yeah.
maybe not TennCare where you live, but you get, some federal insurance and some food stamps, and then you just keep working your farm. Like, your kid's probably not going to starve.
I was very much in the mindset, up until we decided to have Corinne, that you're kind of talking about. I was hooked on this. It's this pessimistic way of viewing the future in children, and this idea of like, how could I bring a children into this crazy world with all? And it's like, man, that is so like
things have
always been crazy. It's always a wild time.
Well, and it's a weird thing because that comes off. Oh, sorry, it comes off slightly as like, oh, look how selfless I'm being, but it's not a selfless thing. It's actually a very selfish thing, and I don't know. The winning strategy is having children. It's having a family. It's raising them up in your culture, and having them to take care of you when you get old. You taking care of them when they're young, and I mean, it's just the winning way.
Having children has changed me. I mean, in all the right ways.
Yep, it matures you fast, doesn't
absolutely. It does, and it
even if you think you're already mature, having kids can mature you.
Absolutely, every day. I mean it.
When you and I were dating, Andrews, we talked. That was one of our first conversations. Was we both knew and acknowledged that we wanted a family, and
you know who gave me that advice?
Large family. Who?
Chris Vandelin.
Really?
Chris Vandelin told me dating is for marrying and starting a family. So don't just go out on a date and be like, oh, do you like popcorn? Do you like?
What's your favorite color?
Yeah. Are you a Taurus or an Aries?
Oh gosh.
Like don't even. He's like, don't ask those stupid questions. Ask, are you interested in having a family one day, or are you career oriented? And if he's like, I don't even care if you're career oriented or family. Pick the one that matches what you want. Pick your value system. If she doesn't have values that are going to be the same, then you guys are not going to be able to make decisions together. And that was, oh my God. I asked Samantha, I remember sitting down with her on our second date, I think it was. And I said, do you want kids? And she went,
Not yet.
Not yet. And I was like, well, I'm not talking about right now.
Be a little forward there, aren't you, mister?
Yeah. She was definitely like, she thought I was being real forward. But
this is a lesson in the fact that Samantha takes everything literally.
Yeah.
It's true. It is true.
Anyway.
But, John, that's my 2 cents is I feel like, dude, I wouldn't wait on the family, but I wouldn't wait on the farm either.
Exactly.
And that's what I was going to say was that if you know that you want children, I understand, wanting to have a certain amount saved up and putting yourself in a good position. But Andrew and I have known people that have waited until the very last minute and constantly, well, if I could do this, or if I had $5,000 more in the bank, or if I pay off my car first, or if I pay off, the house next, and then we'll have one. They ended up not having one.
Oh yeah, and I would like to point out real quick, because Cheryl's made a good point. Like, she doesn't want to have children because she doesn't want to pass on some of her poor genetics, that kind of stuff. I don't judge people who don't want to have kids. No,
that's and I know we've gone on like a lot on one question about children.
Well,
and it's all on the same.
Yeah,
we're all super
because
positive.
We relate so much to it.
Right.
But no judgment at all. It could vary. Like I said, I do see a lot of these other farms and people doing it the opposite way.
Yeah,
crushing it.
But I mean, it's going to depend on your value system, and it seems like the people at the table, our value system was have kids early, but
well,
or have kids
we have felt
young,
that same exact. They're crushing it, and we're over here, and we're pouring our hearts and everything else into our children, and making sure that we're spending enough time with them. And to me, it's absolutely worth it. They're the reason why I do this, and this job affords us more freedom to be with them. So that's worth every bit of it, in my opinion. Even though you're going, and that's something else, is we speak to people from all over the world, businessmen and businesswomen from everywhere, and all of them have said that slow, steady growth with family values is typically a winning way to go, because people will do business with you because they know that you are a family man or a family woman. They know what you're supporting. They know you have something to fight for. And you're going to provide a good quality product because you need.
Oh my gosh, that actually brings up a really good point. I have been surprised at how the longer I've gone into business, whether I'm dealing with chefs or I'm sure you start dealing with restaurant owners as well at some point. when you start dealing with these chefs, these restaurant owners, and these people that are, I don't know. I grew up kind of in the poverty line. I started my family in the poverty line. Now I'm rubbing shoulders with people who are basically a class above me. And the weird thing that caught me was that they have a weird thing where they don't focus on the money. They don't focus on the money. I know I can hear the dog. Yeah, just let me let him in real quick.
He's like, let me back in, please.
But they're not really focused on the money. They're not really focused on. They're focused on, like, if they're buying a product, they're focused on, I want that quality product, and I'm willing to pay more for the quality product. Yeah, he loves you for letting him in, huh? But then, like, when it comes to people, like, I've met more people who have done what I would consider making it. You know, they're the class above me, not for long, but they're the class above me, and they care more about you as a person, your family as a culture, your business as a culture, and a lot less about than, I don't know, it's not just an economic situation.
No. You just nailed it, though. You said not for long.
Yeah, not for
like
long.
recognizes like, because it's character. They're recognizing the type of,
Yeah. No, yeah, you're right.
It's more than that. So, and that's probably a big, like you just said, a part of the reason why they've been successful. So,
Absolutely.
I mean, I have definitely recognized that as I have started having these weird interactions.
And it's changed my values too, because, you know, when you're poverty minded, a lot of times it comes down to, I've got to make everything scrimp and save, and I've got to plot every penny, and every choice is about the money, except my vices. And then all of a sudden it doesn't matter about the money, right? But
you're on survival mode, and when you struggle with the survival, then you're kind of on comfort mode. A lot of people go down that route, and
right.
It can be destructive.
Absolutely. But when you start viewing the world as, okay, if I care more about the quality of personage, I care more about the quality of goods, I spend a little bit more for it, I go without in the early stages, all of a sudden your wealth, quote unquote, accumulation, and wealth accumulation, I mean contacts and people and friendships and relationships, because that's the wealth you're really building, is the networks you've got around you. That's one of the reasons why I don't fret. You know, I didn't fret about teaching you. I didn't fret about you being around. I didn't fret whenever we had this little restaurant mishap to go on. Like, I didn't care about any of it, because I care more about the relationship and
Well, it's about camaraderie. It's about leaving a legacy. It's about, building more than just yourself. It's about switching that, survival grind, right, to another grind that turns into that flow that we're talking about, where you've built your network and you've built that sense of camaraderie, and that everyone is like-minded, and tying that into it as well.
Oh yeah. Well, and I will say that I feel like the transitions are always the hardest, and transiting from that poverty section, like that poverty mindedness, to, I don't know, like it's a weird transition. It's like it kind of hurts in a way, and it's really difficult to get out of poverty. I feel like once you get the ball rolling, it starts stacking in your favor. But once you're in poverty, it's hard, like poverty stacks on itself.
Goes in both directions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Though the one thing you can't be is in the middle. You like, it's not it's not easy. It's easy to when you start making money, it's easy to make money. But when you've got no money, it's easy to have no money. So it's like, but being in the middle, there ain't no middle.
Yeah.
It ain't easy. So, but I know that we were really off on that question. We basically ate up all of our time. I'm happy to stick around and answer a couple more questions if you guys are.
Yeah. Well, in the very beginning, Vance asked kind of a technical question of, have you ever done experiments on how deep you allow your blade to go into the substrate when cutting for fruiting holes? Will this help them sooner?
We have, and I've noticed that if I just cut the crap out of a block, it seems like it performs better. I don't know. What about you, Josiah?
Yeah. I mean, we haven't done super. We have some things like chestnuts where we specifically scrape the heck out of it. But I haven't. I've not done like proper tests, but I have noticed as we've started doing more and more, and you start just planting faster, and you are gouging them a little bit more, it's made zero difference. Yeah.
So, have you tried any scratches or anything with king oysters?
Not with kings yet. I've actually just now started trying to do some stuff with Kings now that I've got my air conditioner down there.
Oh, nice. That's
And
right. Yeah, the new mini split. Yeah.
Yeah.
Congrats on that. That's life changing.
It's so nice. I'm in a jacket downstairs all the time now. It's beautiful.
So, Collier's, what I hope my son's future father-in-law, who I'm absolutely in love with. This guy's awesome, but he's like, he wanted to take Collier to go castrate and vaccinate cattle. And Collier, you know, I feel like Collier had this kind of like, oh, I work on a mushroom farm. I know what farm work is like. And it's like, no, buddy,
Not
you
that.
don't know. Because, and so whenever he came over and he like toured our op, he's like, oh man, it's nice in here. And I'm like, that's why I started growing mushrooms. It really wasn't, but like, that's one of the things I like about mushrooms is I get to farm indoors in the air conditioning all year. So.
Oh man, my grandpa had a big cattle ranch, and that just gave me flashbacks. He'd take me to do that too, but I was so little that I just got to get in there and basically herd the cows into the pen and go jump the fence when they got pissed.
When they
and
got
ran
mad at you.
Yep. Figured out what was going on. That was fun.
Running cattle ain't easy work.
No, he always got the 4-wheeler, and I got on foot.
Yep.
It was.
Oh, Grandpa always gets the best tools.
Yeah.
Jeff S. has asked, do you have any advice on where to buy needed equipment for your spawn and grow media, rye berries, hardwood pellets, soybean hulls, etc.?
MushroomMediaOnline.com.
Absolutely.
We really like Seth. Seth has been...
Not a sponsor, by the way.
No, he's not a sponsor.
Well, I mean, we do business with him. So, like, I guess, like, sponsor...
But he doesn't pay us to
But he
mention
doesn't
him.
pay, like, it's not an
We're
advertisement.
a customer of his, and we just really like his products that much. Plus, you know, Seth he's a family man equally. He provides a good service. He's always upfront and super honest with us.
If
and I
you ever
really
go to his
enjoy that.
website and you have sticker shock, give him a call. Maybe ordering a little bit more will get you a better price, or may get you better freight or something like that. Like, don't be afraid to reach out. He's got excellent customer service.
I know he's not against people kind of piggybacking on orders too that are kind of in a similar area.
That want to share, yeah.
And that's another reason why I love him is that he works with you.
Yeah. Right now I have a driveway that's not accessible to even a truck with a lift gate on it. So Seth has worked with me to get my stuff. I pick up pallets at a shipping depot near me, and I just take my truck. Everyone's situation is different, but I'm lucky. It's like 10, 15 minutes from me. And
Nice.
they let them stack the pallets, and I can get 2 or 3 cents if I need it and just make trips.
Yeah, I like that. And Seth's always willing to take it. Like, he also, forewarning.
And the fact that he
And Seth,
arranged
Seth, I know you're going to hear this, so, no apologies. But, so just he's a lot. He's a lot. He talks about, like, I don't know, maybe it's just from where we're from the South, but for me, he speaks like he is speaking light speed. I don't know, man. It's crazy.
Slow down.
Yeah. Like, I think that he does actually slow it down for me, and I'm still just like, because I'll notice he'll like say something, and I have to like wait until like it processes. I'm like, yeah, okay, I got it. But yeah, that's who I would suggest is Mushroom Media Online for most things. If you're buying really small quantities, I've used Shroom Supply for years. Ryan has excellent customer service. He does a really good job. It's still where I get some things, like I cannot find self-healing injector ports, the heavy-duty ones, any cheaper than from him. And so Code Mossy still works with him. I actually don't get a kickback from Code Mossy, but it will save you about 10% on your order. So you guys can use that. I did try it because he actually made that code so that I can use it. And every now and then I will say I get a gift card because he's like, man, you just do so much business for us. But
Heck yeah. And then not as great lately, but co-op, Tractor Supply, feed stores, you can often, I still get a lot of hardwood from just Tractor Supply. So
I can't, it's hard for me to find the pelletized straw anywhere but with Seth. So,
straw is going to be different, yeah. I forgot you guys do a lot of the goat mix now. I'm still mainly on the hardwood, so yeah.
But yeah, so hopefully that's got you guys enough suppliers. Amazon also has a lot of stuff. Like my syringe filters, I can't find those any cheaper anywhere else other than Amazon. So
the Bezos.
What you got for us, baby? Keep talking. So I am talking about things, and I'm filling a hole.
Now, I saw someone ask a question about cold storage or something, where to store things. And there you go. Out of a garage or basement, what do you use for cold storage for harvested mushrooms and agar from Mad Cat mushrooms? Worth buying an extra fridge or two.
So for a basement op?
For a basement op, yeah.
I don't know what your solution's been, Josiah, but ours was to go on Craigslist and look up like gas station refrigerator or two-door refrigerator or cooler, like Coke cooler, Pepsi cooler, that kind of stuff. Just keep typing in words until you find stuff. But we found a nice double-door cooler. It's still used in our house. We use it to store like Thanksgiving meals and stuff in, as we're preparing. Or it's way bigger than what we need now. But back then, we knocked all the shelves out of it, and we could hold about 200 pounds of oysters in that. Yeah, if you had to knock the shelves out, and you could just barely squeeze those boxes in. And it only cost us $600.
Okay.
But it was so hard to get it in the house that I think that house will be sold with it in it. So,
on that same route, I started with doing the regular refrigerator, spare refrigerator got sacrificed.
Yep.
Then I did the Facebook Marketplace route and wound up with chest freezers. Chest freezers with what do you call it? A temperature controller, a little Inkbird temperature controller. And I had one that became two, and between those two, it was about the same, about 200 pounds. And since then, I just stayed on the marketplace, and I have a walk-in that it's like a modified CoolBot walk-in.
Okay, yeah.
And honestly, you can, depending on your space, if you're trying to put it in your basement and you need something small, that's fine. But in my searches, I got my whole thing for less than the cost of an air conditioner, my walk-in. And so you can find people that are getting rid of those panels, getting rid of air conditioners. You can make a CoolBot happen pretty cheap too. And
I mean, so our walk-in, which is it's like a 12 by 12, I think.
You have a pretty big one, yeah.
Yeah, it's that and the air conditioning system with it, I think we got for $500. But that was used, so.
Yeah. So, and mine is another thing that can be done. So mine is small. Mine actually fits in the basement, and it was those panels flipped on their side and cut, so it's short, and you can put it in. So basically, those panels can be trimmed pretty easily and put back together to get something that, if you don't have space for a 12 by 12 or something like that, I think mine is 8 by 10. So
okay, well that's still pretty sizable in a basement.
It is, but you could have made it much smaller if you wanted to. You could make it a closet, basically.
I will say, let's save Wagyu's life here, since fly season's coming upon us. Josiah, what are you doing for fly? Yeah, that face you just made a face. You snarled. He literally snarled.
I have bug zappers that literally got here this morning. That will it'll be lights out at night. That's something I'm going to try. It's basically been fly paper, the fly strips in the grow room,
which are effective, but I hate looking at them.
I hate them, dude, especially when you go take a nice picture and then you get back you go look at it and
you're
realize
like, oh, I got flies all in it. Yeah,
fly strips all the way down. So that's my plan. We have made every kind of bug trap,
Yeah. Your mini split's could probably help you more than anything.
I think, absolutely. And we just try to, throughout the summer, we get much stricter with our waste pile because we throw stuff out the back door of the basement so it doesn't get to sit there anymore.
Yep. The waste pile, don't make your waste pile right by your back door.
No, it gets chucked and moved now immediately.
Good.
So
yeah, we had front garden back when it was at the house. We had front gardens in the front around the silver maple and in the back and raised beds, but a lot of times it became kind of too much for employees to want to hike it here and there, so that it was right out the back door, directly out the back door. So
they just get chucked,
I understand the pain.
Yeah, we have thankfully I just got my got new tires and did an oil change and all this on our little lawnmower. So we've got one of those little 700-pound carts that you can
nice.
hold. So you just stack it with blocks, and
Turn
we
it over.
now have I for the time being, I mentioned to you, kind of solved my waste block problem, and I've got a bunch of
Nice.
farmers that have now understood the benefit of this stuff, so we can just haul it up to the end of the driveway and make a pile. And yeah.
Getting rid of your waste makes a big difference for pest problems. I mean, so
Absolutely.
did you ever get rats?
No,
Good.
because I watched your video about not
Okay,
letting
good. Yeah.
And hearing the horror stories of. I've also watched the videos of people picking through the fields and having. What kind of dog do you have again?
Like terriers.
Terrier.
Oh, like we have?
Won't they
Oh yeah, they'll
tear 'em
yeah,
up?
so Venture, which is our black one, he's killed many a rat.
Yeah.
His mother killed more rats than any of them. Miniature Schnauzer, they're good rat dogs, but
Yeah.
I think what made it significant for us is we are right next to kind of a wetland area, and they're there anyway.
Yep.
So it was just, we've had snapping turtles come up, beavers come up, the river rats,
but
creek rats come up.
The thing with rats is like once they get a
Snakes.
foothold,
Yeah.
they're hard to get rid of. So we were lucky that poison and the dogs tearing apart their nest and having the dogs there killed a bunch of them. And then we poisoned the last few we could find.
We also
but-
laid pipes out in the yard, and they would hide in them, and then we'd have a dog just naturally go on either end, and just one would.
And we would pick up one
chase 'em
end.
up and the
We
other
would
one
pick
would
up
catch
one
it.
end, and that rat would slide down, and the dog would catch. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kill zone.
Yep. It's sounds pretty brutal, but I actually Jay Reed. You ever watch his stuff?
No.
So Jay, plus I love it. He's got my same last name as me, but Jay Reed and his Mongrel Horde, I think, is the channel, and they literally he gets hired by farmers to go out, and he's got a whole pack of rat terriers,
Okay.
and they bust apart nests and they just kill them. Oh, it's so satisfying. If you are a hippie kind of sort, do not go watch that.
No, I feel like I have seen one of
Yeah.
these videos. That's what I was taught, where they are in there with pitchforks
Yep.
and things, just tearing them up. Oh, dude, those dogs look like they are having the
They are, yeah.
time of their life.
Well, and it's people talk about it's kind of cruel and stuff, but man, trust me, if you've ever farmed and you've ever had to deal with rats, you will not feel so cute and cuddly towards them anymore. You will feel at war with them. They are an existential threat. So
Yeah, they went through our tomatoes and peppers and
Oh,
squash and
we would have a load steaming, a load of blocks. They would leave their home of spit blocks, go into and start, eating the soy and
they
the
would
stuff out
nibble
of
a
it.
small hole in every single one of them, and of course you can't use them.
Right, you can't.
don't
They
wanna
have
use
one
them.
hole and you can't
No.
use it.
No.
But the worst part was they'd get in there, they'd start eating, and then they would start getting disoriented by the steam, and they couldn't find their way out. And then you would have a steamer
Roast
full
rat.
of spit. Oh, it was steamed rat, and I mean ugh, even the thought of it now grosses me out. But I tried to pick one up by its leg, and its leg bone came out. It was so perfectly steamed. I was like, that's probably really tasty, tender rat, but it is gross. Oh.
And before
Ratsumi.
everyone's like, well,
Ugh.
that'll never happen at my op. I will tell you, having been raised on farms and lived on farms for a very long time and worked on farms, you pests are prevalent everywhere, no matter what you do. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I've been in horse farms many, many summers, and, you have mice and rats there that kind of pop up in the hay, and, it just is.
Well, Cheryl's like, I have 8 rats in my house, but that's by choice. Yeah.
They're pets.
Those
For
cute,
her.
cuddly rats.
Yeah.
I've seen your rats. Those are cute, cuddly, little, nice rats. We're talking about feral, wild,
And they're smart.
with tiny wolves. That's what these things are.
Yes. Yes.
All right. Well, Samantha.
Chipmunks and gophers and moles and all that too. Anyway,
We are at 4:45, so we're 15 minutes past due. So we all say we call it. All right. Well, in that case, thank you all very much for being with us. It's been nice to have Josiah sitting around with us, Samantha, and of course, yours truly, Mr. Handsome. And thank y'all. Keep spawning culture.
I mean, I agree, but